Welcome to the Chicago Communicator News Media remote broadcast for Omnibus Roundtable Television Show. I'd like to welcome each of you this evening to the show. We had an agenda which was going to cover our mayor of Chicago and her accomplishments over the last couple of years since she's been in office. But guess what? Our president decided that he was going to take
He gonna be top dog.
and he said he's going to keep the White House.
Yep.
So he had his pundits come to the White House and take it over. And they did. And guess what? One lady got shot.
And she's dead too.
And she's dead.
Ooh.
What say you about your president, who I know this had to be a plan, because I've never seen anybody be able to get close enough to the White House to be able to go inside without being escorted.
Well, they got into the Capitol, not the White House.
They got into the Capitol.
The Capitol. They broke windows out and
Congress
went into the Capitol.
And they broke windows out. I saw that.
I saw this. I saw. It's not funny. I saw this black officer standing at the steps. And as they start coming up the steps, he started running back.
Stop it.
He reached down on the ground, got his baton, and started running up the steps. And they was coming at him. Yep.
Wow. I mean, did anybody else? Has anybody else seen television? Have you?
Well, you know, when you look at it, you realize that there is no way those people could have gotten there through security unless the security had already been pulled from the place.
Well, they never had security. That was the problem.
Well,
how could they not have security?
They knew this was going to happen, but they didn't know it was going to happen in this magnitude.
Well, you know that, but the one who called for it knew it was going to happen.
And then the other thing you got to look at, white privilege, baby.
Oh yes.
White privilege.
Because if you had your butt up there instead,
man, my head would have been. I'd be holding my head right now. Yeah.
He'd be talking about you.
Yeah.
There would have been helicopters all in the sky. There would have been black faces walking to that Capitol building.
Yes.
We already know the response when we look like we get ready to revolt.
Yes.
All the military,
all the
operations in the nation would have been called out.
Yeah.
And would have been there within 30 minutes.
911, what's your emergency?
Black people on the loose.
Oh, God.
So yeah, we already know what the deal is. Now, of course, the people who are out there in the streets, they are believing that an officer would not dare shoot at them and
absolutely
dare kill him.
And they didn't shoot at him.
Did you see the man that went into the building and sat at the desk of the Senate seat?
Now that was bold.
That was Pelosi's desk.
That
was her office. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, these are people who have decided that they have the power to overrun the government, and they have decided. I mean, these are the same people with the South that, you know, wanted to succeed from the North. I mean, the same mentality never died. The competitive attitude never died. It's still here, and here it is. These people believing that they're just going to take over and not allow there to be an orderly change of power.
We have some young folks with us today.
They get.
We have Miss Erie and we have Mr. Peter Morris. I'd like to welcome them to the show and have them give us a little insight on what they saw today.
I was at work all day, and I'm just now. I was at work all day, and I was just hearing this now. So I'm trying to fill myself in. And I'm jumping back.
You just hearing about it?
Yes,
you mean to say your job didn't have no news flashing across the screen? Wasn't nobody talking about what Trump did?
Nope. And we was, you know, and I work in a, you know, predominant white area as well. And you know, I'm in St. Louis, and you know what state that is. So therefore, I'm pretty sure they're not going to show that right now until later on.
What about you, Erie? What about you? Did you see anything today? Erie.
So today, I caught a couple glimpses on social media because I follow a couple of different accounts that will touch base on political events. And unfortunately, this wasn't even a political event, really. This was more so people. I'm gonna be as nice as I can, people expressing their voice of freedom. So I can say, that's the nice way to put it.
So you say they was covered by the First Amendment, right?
Well, I mean, hey, I see it like, people. Sometimes there isn't a way to have change that you see fit besides making those moves yourself. So, I mean, I think those were brave steps that those people made, but at the same time, I agree that we need orderly
transfer
change. But at the same time, I think that there are things that are going on behind closed doors in the government that are not shared in the media, because the media, again, is ran by the same people that don't want you to know certain things. So
that's so correct, young lady. You're absolutely correct.
I just think we should know all of our facts before we just say, what are they doing? Because one thing I want to bring up is Trump's rebuttal to those people.
What? Yes. Did you all hear his bro?
Yeah.
Oh, he told them they was nice people, go home.
Right, but see, he also because this is some things that you gotta kind of research on your own, because I've been researching these things on, like, why is it that the media is portraying these things so the way that they are. And so Trump is addressing these people with cryptic pieces of messages in these addressing it when he's addressing them. And so I heard those cryptic messages, and I just think that everybody should take a look at that, because it's something behind these things that's going on. These people ain't doing this for no reason, the same way that we don't try to enact change for no reason. You know what I'm saying? There are things that's going on, and there are babies missing. So
yeah. But you know what? This is the problem. White folks, and we talk about the 99%. And I say to most people, if you're not making six figures, you part of the 99%. Most white folks are part of the 99%. But what then happened, and it takes you back to slavery, when the overseer decided that he wanted the poor whites to be in charge, he would tell them, at least you ain't no nigger, and you're a step above the nigger. Well, with these white folks, they have been told that we are the enemy to them. We get the benefits that they should be getting, and they have let themselves be hoodwinked, bamboozled by the 1%.
Yeah.
The 1% don't want the 99%, whether you're black, white, Hispanic, to be organized.
That's right.
Because see, if we all, and I was listening to Reverend Barber from the Poor People Campaign, and as he stated, if poor white folks realize they in the same boat we in, and if we came together, it's more of us
than it is
of the 1%.
Yeah.
But they own damn near all the money.
That's right. They do own the money. They make the rules and the regulations too.
Absolutely. And they don't even want to see you get a decent wage.
Come on.
Okay. Man. But they have been so brainwashed with that nonsense.
Yes.
That when 45 said, I love uneducated people, that is an insult to your intelligence.
Yes.
Because his thing is, you can be easily manipulated. So if I tell you, come to Washington and protest, and you scratching your head, why do I need to go protest? About what?
Right.
You lost your damn election fair and square.
Yeah.
But no, I want y'all to understand the election was stolen from me.
Well, I do want to touch on that. I do want to touch on that real quick, just because, again, like I say, the research that has come forth and the information that has come forth that is outside of the media that supports Biden, I want objective information. So that's why I'm
what do you
extreme
mean?
at asking questions, and I'm extreme at critical thinking for myself.
Right.
So when I take a step back and I don't choose to just say, yes, thank you, media, for that information, I choose to look at what these people are saying, how they're saying it, and how many different networks are saying the same thing. Because then you begin to see an agenda that's beyond Trump. The agenda is way beyond that.
Oh, of course.
It's not
the
him.
Media is controlled
he is also a puppet. He's also a puppet to be able to a bigger scheme of things. But I do want people to know that there's this information that's out there that, like, it'll shock you. And so he was speaking to that information in that address. And so I'm not a person that, I don't by any means support Trump, but I do know that there's been money for small businesses that's been going out. I do know that he was trying to do $2,000 for stimulus money. I do know that he's trying to get people off of Section 8 and depending on those things. I do know those things. I do know that he's a businessman that's trying to get people to understand that politics doesn't have to be all the lies and stuff. He stepped in to see everything that everybody's doing and said, whoa, he's not a politician. These are all politicians doing these things. So then he stepped in as a businessman and said, whoa, I don't think that that's going to benefit us. Let's pull the money from the Smithsonian so that way they can't cover up any more artifacts, because they've been trying to keep people because we can say he's a racist all we want to, but if we start to discover who we are more, because those white people that are brave enough to do that, they're actually gatekeepers. Like, so y'all are right.
Come on, man. Wait a minute. What word did you just say? Gatekeepers?
Yes. Once they can crack the gate without getting killed. It's so unfortunate that lady lost her life. But the people that do that thing, once me and us and them unite, they will crack the gate for us. They will crack the gate for us, and don't nobody, you know what I'm saying? So yeah. I think it's a bigger scheme of things. And I said, wait a minute, my heart is hardening because my family is making me, and the media is making me hate Trump. I don't want to hate anyone.
Right.
I don't want to hate anyone. Why are they, I had to ask myself and ask, why are they making me hate him when there are other presidencies? I'm not going to name no names, but there wasn't half as much done. There are Black colleges that got money this past couple years, that didn't get that money in the last 8 years. You know what I'm saying? So I just think we should look at the facts, at what people have done to benefit the people and what they say they stand for. Just because we can't understand what he's saying, because I'm like, why can't I understand what Trump is saying? Everybody say he just sound dumb. He's so dumb. He's speaking about these things that we don't know about, that he can't even expose.
Now, you know what? You sound like Dr. Claude Spivey, he hasn't called in yet, but he comes from a similar perspective that you are coming from. Naima, what say you? Can you hear me?
She's muted.
Oh.
Okay, now I'm on.
There she go.
Okay. Yes. I think this, I've been looking at the reports from the various world news agencies.
Yes.
And their opinion is that America has become as anarchist as some of these nations
third world nations
claim are third world and always have a coup and a military takeover. Well, it's kind of looking like America's in the same boat right now, because the leadership that we have is not going according to the protocols. Even if you think you won and it was unfairly taken from you. I mean, that's the same thing that happened years ago with Al Gore. He could have just as easily said, and we all know
it was taken from him.
That it was taken from him.
The Supreme Court did that.
But he chose to not fight. He could have.
Yes, he could have. And I wish he would have.
Well, I have a question about the ballots that were being covered and things like that.
Yes.
I think you look at every situation. Do we have enough checks and balances with the whole electoral process? Supposedly, there's supposed to be somebody from each party at the polling places, counting the ballots and all of that.
And all that did happen. And see, the other thing you have to look at too, Trump appointed through Mitch McConnell out of Kentucky, the majority leader. Hey, brother Robert, he appointed a bunch of judges, okay? His own judges that he had appointed to the bench told him, dude, you don't have no grounds for these charges. They threw him out. 50 cases. His own judges threw out. So he had no grounds to stand on talking about they took the presidency, the election away from him. No, they didn't take it away from you. You lost it. Because if he would have took care of the virus back in March and made sure that he showed sympathy to us, because I I had the virus, and I'm blessed and I'm still here.
Right.
But I heard of people getting that virus on the Monday and dead on the Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this man showed no sympathy.
Before we say
300,000 people that's dead.
I want to bring up a point about the ventilators. So do y'all remember when the ventilators were being administered on the East Coast?
Yeah.
And these ventilators were being controlled by the doctors under strict instructions. Please turn these ventilators all the way up, okay? So the person that took those ventilators away was Trump. That's the person that took those ventilators away. I think that when we look at healthcare in America and COVID, we should not look at Trump. We should then begin to look at the people that are directly involved. There are doctors that only give you 10% of nutrition talk. There are people that are not accountable for their own lives. And they say, well, you'd get me sick. Well, in all actuality, there are changes that need to be made. I think that we are in a period that we are no longer able to exercise how we used to exercise our bodies. And I just think that we have to take accountability for our health. You know what I'm saying? So I think that we should realize that breath is the connection to life, and that it's a bigger aspect about covering up, you know what I mean? Taking away identity, making sure that we don't speak with one another. I just think we should look at all of the information. And so I'm not saying that I don't, I have aunts that can take better care of their health, and just will not change at this very moment because of how we live. Because that's how I choose to say it. I'm not gonna say any sugarcoating for anyone. Like, if we see what we're going through right now, it's time to change or else. Because you want to leave your health up to someone else. And the people, we get to the doctors and we say, well, I don't know what's wrong with me, doc, fix me. And you leave that doctor up to prescribe you stuff that is just gonna try. It's just going to try to fix something instead of prescribing something that is going to, only circumvent your life for a little bit. It's only going to meet the symptoms. Why don't we just meet, the actual causes of illnesses? And I just think that people need to get in touch with our bodies. Our bodies are temples. We need to take better care of ourselves, and realizing that it's just starting in your beliefs. So if you believe certain things, then you cannot, you literally can't. Don't change your environments. You don't change your people that you're around. You literally can't change. But I think that accountability is a huge piece at this time, for one another. And real quick, I wanted to talk about the rules for ballot observers during the election. 20 to 30 feet is unacceptable in the legal law books. And there are also male people that come forth that said that they were instructed to leave these ballots in places. And I think that, again, controlling what sources you're using in order to get your news and your information, you will not know that there are people that work for the government that came forth anonymously and said, someone instructed me to put this ballot down. You know what I mean? And they weren't, it was adding ballots. And Trump wasn't worried about adding ballots. So that's just something that I think about. He wasn't worried about it. If you look at a Trump rally and you look at a Biden rally, think about that. There are not as many, even half as many supporters at those rallies. So I do think personally that there was something fishy going on with the election because there were people holding up boards against the windows so they can't see that what's going on. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody's saying that, they said, well, no, that was for a reason. There was a bomb threat. Okay, but there's also protection there already. Why are these people there if you can't protect them and they're here? Why do you have to put up boards over the windows and they're protected in the inside? So right. I have questions,
Yeah.
What say you, Levette?
Good evening. How's everyone?
Hey, Levette.
Can you see me?
No.
Good. But you can hear me, right?
We can hear you real good.
Okay. I was traveling, so I'm not quite sure exactly all that I'm hearing, but I am hearing the young sister, and I'm feeling her need to know the truth.
Yes.
And I would just like to share with her, Miss Carter said something to me when I met her 25 years ago, because we started the Chicago Communicator newspaper. And I had my opinion and she had hers. And one day we sort of bumped heads, and she said something to me that stuck with me all these years. She said, listen, your reality is not my reality, and my reality is not yours. And that opened me up to say that we have to be more open to what the truth is, and to what each one's reality is. I would just like to say that when you're dealing with circumstances and situations where you're getting the truth and what you think is the truth from one end, and then it's dispelled on the other end, and then you're searching for the answer that you think would satisfy you. And I think that we are being bombarded with half truths, lies, until you don't know what is. I do know that it is a perceived two sides to this story. One, the so-called Democrat, one, the so-called Republican. And in that fight, I would just like to say that as Black people, melanated people, African Americans, indigenous, we are the pawns on the chessboard. And everything is being moved around to circumvent us. Let us not be fooled. Republicans have no love for us. Democrats, maybe because it's a bunch of us that are. And so there are a bunch of Democrats who sincerely are looking out for our best interests. Now, as far as what leadership is going to do, it is up to us as one voice to demand what it is that we want. Because when you look at other ethnicities, they're not divided. You've got the Latinx group right now, and who are they? They are Hispanics, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, all the Latin people that have come together as one voice. While we're separated in ours, they're moving forward and getting demands answered. Here, it was a known fact that they did not support Biden in Florida and Texas and all of these places. But what did they do with one voice when they came in? They said, listen, we know we didn't support you, Biden, but this is what we want. And they spoke in one voice. And that's what matters, is that where is our voice of unison? Because if you looked at the Capitol today, that was one voice, and mostly all white, fighting for what they think is their heritage, fighting what they think is their cultural right. And why can't we have that same unified voice? We've got so many different factions following this group, following that group. Where is our unified voice where we speak together?
Yeah, you're right. Well, I guess we have to work on unifying. That's been our plight all along, is that we have been speaking from individual voices. It's time for us to unite. It's been time for us to unite. It's time for us to speak as a unified voice. And so What say you, Miss Robinson?
Good evening. How are you?
Fine, and yourself?
I'm good. I was snacking on some chips, so forgive me.
No problem.
Well, it's been an interesting day.
Yes, it has.
Oh my goodness. I was watching Roland Martin just and he was the title of his talk was "White Supremacists, Racists, marching on the Capitol," and I thought, wow, is he disconnected? The young sister with the braids. What's your name?
Irie,
you got it right, sister. You got to do your homework. We got to do our homework because we've been researching. We've been doing our homework. And I saw a bus full of people headed for DC. All of them had gray hair. So when you're talking about white supremacists, racist, blah, 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 nah, there's a lot of baby boomer seniors in this movement. And there's a lot of black folks who are out there as well. You just didn't see them. But
I saw. I saw them black folks.
What is it about freedom that you won't fight for? We have had our freedoms taken away from us all last year because of this tyrannical government. Now, Trump held back. Trump didn't want to give $2,000 initially because he didn't want to fund the military-industrial complex. Well, maybe you all don't know about that, but he's trying to bring our troops home from all these foreign countries. He's trying to take money away from all this money being invested in war and military. We haven't had a major war since he's been in office. So the sister is right. He's done a whole lot of things that the mainstream media doesn't talk about. And the other thing is, why do so many people hate this man? It's just amazing. Like she was saying, I don't want to hate, but yet my relatives and the media saying, you got to hate him. You got to hate him. Well, one of the reasons they hate him, he's not a globalist. He's not going to bring in no new world order. You got Biden says his first 100 days, he wants to have 100 million people vaccinated in America. And I say, fuck you. Excuse my language, but that's the type of agenda you're asking Biden and Harris to bring into America. That's why those people were charging the Capitol. Do you want to have an agenda working in the White House that says we're going to vaccinate 100 million? That's his agenda. You can go online. He said that over and over, and Fauci is right there to back him up. I say charge the Capitol, charge their offices, destroy the damn place, because they're becoming millionaires in Washington, D.C., while we get little $600 checks, and they spread the $1 billion around to their corporate sponsors.
For $600.
Now that's Republicans and Democrats. So we can't even we can't be party loyalists, right? At this point, they're all corporate sponsored puppets. So why are we talking? Who's going to be faithful to the Democrats or the Republicans when all of them are corrupt?
They're all only a one-party system. They just split in half to make us think we got two parties.
Yes, and black people used to be Republican.
So we have to look at the details. As they say, the devil is in the details. But we have been listening to the mainstream media promoting fear about a damn virus that is not even going to bother. This brother just said he got the virus and he's over. He's in the 99% of people who get the virus and get over it. Why are we still talking about wearing masks and locking down and getting
because that's the perception they want us to have.
So no identity. Stop listening to the media, and we have to stop listening to Democrats or Republicans and listen to the voice of the Most High. Listen to the voice of the Most High, brother and sister.
I'm a veteran, and I'm gonna have to disagree with you.
We will become numbers. We will no longer.
Hold on.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, my mama said everybody is entitled to their opinion, but your opinion have to also be factual. Okay. Now, I just watched the UK shut down again for the second time. The virus is real. I was watching TV last night. this couple decided that they wanted to get together with their parents. They got together with their parents. They all came down with the virus. Their mom and daddy died from the virus. The virus is not a joke.
How did they know they came down with it?
Because they got tested.
What
and they had to go to the hospital.
And you're trusting those tests.
Let me say this.
Brother, let me just say, and I'm sorry. Let me just say to you, because I'm on the same page with you, my brother. When we are in denial, then my grandmother used to say, don't throw caution to the wind. I'm not sure about this virus, but I'm not going to throw caution to the wind and just say it doesn't exist.
Well,
I lost my children's father. We had not been together in 30 years, but we were artist friends together. I sold his art and we remained very close together. We lost him in January of last year. Everything that this COVID was, we look back, hindsight is 2020. It took him out. And now that we look back on exactly what the virus was, I've studied it for 9 months. What it was, what it did, how it wreaked havoc, how they didn't understand it in the beginning, and everything that happened to most of these patients happened to him without us knowing. So 100 years ago, it wasn't conspiracy theory that had all of these people in masks. They saw people dying. That's a reality. So nothing is new under the sun. So we can say that this virus is man-made, is this or that or that or this. The reality is that it's here. The reality is that it happened 100 years ago, and it wasn't someone saying, oh, well, this is just a conspiracy, and it's not real. People were actually dying. So if you don't think 3,000 people are dying per day, then, okay, the virus isn't real. But
okay,
if you have family members,
let me just give you a fact. Let me give you a fact. She says we should be dealing with facts. In 2019, the CDC reported that the number one cause of death was cardiovascular and heart disease. Number one in 2019. What happened in 2020? Everybody all of a sudden got healed of their cardio. 9 million.
It's funny. I really don't listen. When somebody has died, I don't think it's a laughing matter. I think because it is such an unknown, we can't say what's factual. So you just can't throw stuff out of the water out the window. And just because you have your opinion, we have to be open to all opinions because none of us know.
That's not an opinion, sister. That's a fact. Where did the cardiovascular disease go?
Like I said,
where did the heart disease go?
Hold on. It didn't go anywhere.
Okay.
What does that have to do with? What does that have to do with the reality of another disease?
I can answer that.
Hold on, ladies. Hold on. Let's let the young folks talk and give us their feedback. We asked them to join us, so let's let them have a word.
Thank you, Miss Wanda. I just wanted to first of all, I just wanted to say thank you for sharing that you lost someone, because that's not an easy thing to do, because grieving isn't a process that we can say we figured out even as adults. I just embarked on adulthood. I just started feeling like an adult, and I'm 25. I lost my mom maybe 2 years ago to breast cancer. When I don't like to think of it as to breast cancer, it's more so to chemotherapy. So when you start to unfold what actually is affecting us, it's not COVID-19. It's not COVID-19 that's taking people and taking their lives. It's the fact that they were already susceptible with the lifestyles. Because my mother, I'm going to have some accountability because I don't want to speak. I understand that tender moment, when you feel that somebody is not speaking right about someone. So I'll speak about my mother. My mother needed to take better care of what she was eating. Okay, so she changed her diet. and she started to exercise. So the reality is here that COVID is here, but what are we doing in order to make our bodies more strong? What are we doing? What are we changing in order to just not say die? That's what we're talking about when we get to the point of freedom. My mother began to feel freer than she's ever felt. I watched her consciousness. She's talking with so many different people. Her goal was to be a life coach towards the end. So it was like her watching her as a real estate agent and credit restorer. Like she restored that credit, help them get a place. Giving to someone is and love is the frequency that we need to be operating in. And that's the point that someone was bringing up when they said the media is in pushing fear. That's a fact. So if all you're watching and keeping up on is the fear, and it's fair to say we don't know how to change because only what we expose ourselves to. But at the same time, it's fair to ask questions to say, how do I help? And it's fine to ask your creator, your heart space, your source. It's fine to say, hey, how do I do it? Because I'm not 25 and I lost my mom 2 years ago and I'm just here. You know what I mean? I had to ask and I had to listen and I had to make sure I understood and took in the tool belt that she left behind. I don't feel ill-equipped. I feel like I can go outside and go get me some running in, or we got to learn to not be so stagnant and be okay that they want to say that bad health runs in your family. That's not true. Right. And you know what? And this is what I did. Say that bad health runs in my family or breast cancer ran in my family, and I let them know no bad eating habits run in my family. Exactly. So that's what we need to let ourselves know and understand about people that pass away. That's their lives. And what we have to take from that is that we have to make, okay, my mama passed away from breast cancer. I know it got my great grandma. I know it got my grandma. I know it got my mom. What can I do to make sure that I'm not susceptible? You know what I'm saying?
And I think
where we're at is making choices. It's about choices at this time.
And you're being heard. And I know that at your age, it's like my grandchildren. You're the same age as my grandchildren. And I do have to step back and say, let me hear their voice. Now, what I did when the pandemic first happened, I studied this virus and knew that the cell structure was the weak link. And if you didn't strengthen your cell structure, you're susceptible to this thing. So I started to make soup and put my stuff in it, turmeric, ginger, all kind of stuff, and took it to my friends that weren't eating well. And I knew that if I could help them strengthen their bodies. Now, the brother that I was talking about was a vegetarian, was healthy, and he became subjected to something of the unknown that he could not have a defense against because he wasn't aware of what it did. Now, the reason that it took out a lot of brothers is because they have less chromosomes than we do. We have a double protection over our cell. But like you were saying, sister, when you are able to strengthen your body, and that is the key for us to communicate. We don't have to talk about conspiracy theories, how the virus got here, who's in control of it, who's being vaccinated, because nobody is being forced to be vaccinated. It's a free will thing. And so if Biden says, I'm going to give 100 vaccinations, there's the people that's going to be waiting in line. What about the other 300 million, the other 200 million? That doesn't want it. So to say, well, this man is gonna make everybody hold guns and make everybody take the vaccination. That vaccination is for those who are willing participants. And so
wait until you can't travel or go
exactly.
To the
bank but wait for what? What are we waiting for?
You think they're
wait for what?
You think they're
they're gonna take away travel if you don't get it.
They already did that.
No, they're not.
No, they have
right now if I want to.
Listen, you know what? You got other countries not even going to let you in because you're not vaccinated.
Other countries. I'm not trying to go to other countries just yet. I'm saying state to state, they're going to have a health order where you have a vaccination ID. And if you do not have that vaccination, you cannot travel. So by other means, you're going to have to figure it out. But freedom is what you're going to have to figure out.
All right, so what are you going to do about it?
I'm gonna drive. I'm gonna do whatever else I need to do. Make sure I'm not alone, because a Black woman will be susceptible.
What did you say? What did you say, Wanda?
I want you to tell me what you think about what's going on.
I think everything that was spoken today, all of them have facts and all of them have some truth. However, it's how we communicate it. Because people really go in and they can hear you when it doesn't sound like this is a damn fight.
Yeah.
This is some powerful information that's on here.
Yeah.
So everybody has spoken some truth and everybody has spoken some facts. And some people have told you their personal experience that they have had. Now I'm a healthcare professional. If I heard this kind of rhetoric going on the air and we fighting and we have, it sounds like a damn fight. And we are in a war, but how we speak, how we give information, and we share information is how we're going to help deliver our people.
Yeah.
And that's just it. That young sister, she gave it as best she knows how, and I could hear the arguments going on in the back. Your facts against my facts, my truths against your truth. It's a lot going on.
Yes, it is.
So we all need to kind of relax a little bit, get this information out, come back to the next show, and let's do this all over again and keep giving out the information, and then we'll find our way. We'll find our way.
Madeline,
what's that people?
I'd like to say something about this. I've not contracted the virus since it hit the United States. I am a very healthy person. I take care of myself. People who know how I live. I eat healthy. I work out. And I've done that for decades. And so even though I'm an older person, I just turned 77. I am not one who would predictably contract the virus because of the way I take care of myself. What I was, in fact, it is about how we take care of ourselves. The reason why the stats for Black people are so high is because we have all of these pre-existing conditions. We have the worst stats on the planet. You know, heart problems, diabetes, high blood pressure, you name it, we have it. And look at all these dialysis centers that have spawned up in Black communities. Yeah. They're making people are making a ton of money on our problems. Yes. And yet, you know, we have not changed our eating habits by and large. I'm doing a small proposal for someone, and I was looking up information, some health stats on Blacks. Black women, over 70% of us are obese. That's horrible. And of course, when you are overweight, you're going to have health issues. You can talk all day, like I have a sister who is now deceased. She died in 2015. She weighed 300 pounds plus, and she would talk all the time about what was hereditary. And I would say, bunk that crap. None of it is hereditary. You don't take care of yourself, expect problems to occur. They're looking for you. The problems will come. Now, something else I heard someone saying about, well, what happened to heart disease, strokes, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, people are dying of those things, but now we're talking about the economics of the COVID-19 virus, because hospitals know that when someone comes in and they have that virus, they might have some other conditions, but if they die because, it could be heart problems, it could be high blood pressure, it could be a number of things. But if COVID is one of those reasons, they're going to put in the medical records that the person died of COVID-19 because they get more money for that. Yes, they will. And that's really what it's about. It's about the economics of it. That's what's going on.
That's true.
And so,
Robert, tell us something about what you think is happening. I'm trying to give everybody a chance to say something because we're winding down. We're coming to a close, and I want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to say
right.
So, Robert.
Yes, I'm here. Well, there are a number of, you've touched all over the map with the topics here, COVID-19, this issue in Washington. And I know that and someone mentioned about the Republicans and Democrats, and I said there are two wings on the same bird.
That's right.
Because here we are in Chicago, which is a Democratic city. You see how they've gentrified over 1 million Black folk out of Chicago since Harold Washington died. The CHA represented the second largest city in the state of Illinois, and they eliminated practically all of CHA. Robert Taylor, Henry Horner, Stateway, and Ida B. Wells. Those Black folk were sent to different suburbs, different cities, different states. And this has been going on. And I'll get a touch on the pandemic in a minute. But I know that the culture in this country is definitely to eliminate Black people. There's ethnic cleansing going on one at a time. When I looked at the notwithstanding the fact that we were brought here involuntarily, we didn't come here looking for a dream. Our ancestors were brought here to do one or two things, perhaps 3 or 4 things: pick cotton, tobacco, sugar cane, rice, and whatever else they had us doing. And in the midst of that, they required individual slave owners required slaves to produce something that they could make money from. That's why all these inventions came up. These stolen, so they call them contributions, but they were stolen treasures from our community that our community developed. One of the simplest things I like to point out is peanut butter. We know who made peanut butter, but from the gas mask to the filament and the light bulb to the telephone, those are all, if they were contributions or Black people had, or the descendants of the enslaved had major input into all of those elements. And if the entirety of it, it was part and parcel of. And they took our brain power, the blood plasma. We know who created blood plasma. The man couldn't get a blood transfusion because of the color of his skin. The first open heart surgery was performed here. They thrive on these surgeries now, but the first open heart surgery was performed by a descendant of a slave doctor. So the pandemic, and when you see how, and I'll go back to Chicago, they shut down healthcare in our community. Cook County, and I say Crook County, the charity care county hospital was chartered at Charity Care in 1917, and now they're attempting to run the county hospital or the county healthcare system as a for-profit process, and it doesn't fit. Yeah, it's a business, and they hoodwinked Todd Stroger when he was president of the county board back in 2009. They made a deal. There was Larry Sufferton, Forrest Claypool, and there's a third commissioner who took a deal to him that when he wanted to implement that penny tax to keep the budget balanced, he was one of only 2, if he's not the only elected official in the country who had a balanced budget. They told him that they would support the penny tax if he would support an independent health and hospital systems board. And he did that. And that's when that board started to eliminate employees out of the county system. They started to bring in contracted private companies to operate the patient accounting in these various hospitals in the county, Stroger Hospital and Provident Hospital. These systems started to shut down because with employment for our community, that's one of the major employment entities in the system was the governments. City, county, state, federal governments were major employees of our people. And these people who have been elected in office, they realize this. These Negroes, and they use another term behind closed doors, these niggas, we're not going to allow this to go on. Because when they forced President Johnson to sign that Civil Rights Act of 1964, he declared that we're going to, first of all, they declared there were 2 federally protected classes at the time, Blacks of African descent and Native American. And since then, everybody has jumped on under the protected class umbrella. Of course. And they see the benefits of it. So they're all part and parcel And now someone mentioned earlier the Latinx. They've formulated themselves as a group, because when you look at the documentation of who was brought here on those slave ships, the Latinx wasn't included in that. You look at the people on those plantations, the Latinx wasn't there. Wasn't no black and brown. Wasn't no people of color. And you go on up the line and you look at how the cities were segregated and the black communities. Wasn't no Latinx in our communities back in the day. Wasn't no so-called black and brown.
But they didn't acknowledge. That's what they didn't acknowledge.
Right. Yeah. So.
Well, your president-elect wants to combine us now, brown and black. You better get together, or you ain't getting nothing.
It's a scheme.
Yeah,
it's a scheme to dilute. It's a dilution process.
That's right.
Like Malcolm X says, when you put cream in your coffee, it's going to be weakened.
That's
right.
What
they're doing. Our communities are being weakened by all of these elements being introduced into it. But go ahead.
I just wanted to say this. All right. Yeah. So those are facts. Now, when you have other people that say, well, now we're talking about black and brown, mixing the two.
Okay.
When we as a people don't even know what to call ourselves. I bet you everyone on here would call themselves something different. So until we're able to be identified as one, that's how they divide and conquer. Because they know some people get very insulted being called black. Some people will tell you, how can I be African American if the same South African can come here and claim the same status?
Yes.
So you have Puerto Ricans that will say they're black to you, but then they can go and ride with the Latinx. So until we, as one unit, can say together who we are, then we can speak as one voice, because we're the largest voice that exists in this world. Okay. Everybody else, the Latinx, they consist of fractured groups. And when they come together, they're one. But we are not separated. We have to understand that we are one power. But until we can face each other and say what that is, but without being insulted by you calling yourself African American, you calling yourself
Aboriginal,
indigenous, we're all that. And so if we can be in one room and say, I embrace you because I know you're me, you just call yourself something different. And so if we embrace this oneness and not feel divided by names and groups, then we will be the power to be reckoned with.
But see, we need that dialogue, because there is no black and brown relationship. Most Hispanics want to be white.
This is what I would urge us not to do.
True. I agree with that.
You know, I agree with that. Because I don't want to be white.
Other people's definition and other people's agenda. I would urge us not to approach this as if we're victims waiting for something to happen to us. We have to be proactive.
Yeah.
We see the nation falling down. Yeah. And as the brother just mentioned, all these inventions and everything else, why are we thinking that we need somebody else to approve of who we are, define who we are, tell us where we can go, when we have the power in our hands to create? And we need to be thinking about what we want this world to look like, and then start creating what we want, because nothing is stopping us at all. And we see that there's chaos. So obviously there's disunity among the whites. So as long as other people are in chaos, our biggest strength is to be in order. And we have the power to create order within ourselves and build the world we want to live in.
All right, come on now, Elizabeth.
I agree. Let's give that.
Said anything. We want to hear from you, sister girl. Can you hear me, Elizabeth? All right.
Somebody
check your mute.
Mute.
She's muted.
Elizabeth. Hello. Maybe she's doesn't know how to.
Still muted.
But at any rate, we're
Wanda,
down, ladies and gentlemen.
Wanda.
Yeah.
Well, I would like, I don't know what everyone does, but I think that when we actually talk about our contributions and the things that we're doing, I think that we'll find that we are more empowered than we're knowing, because we're claiming 180 acres of land over on the west side to do gardening, to have our own urban gardens. We just raised a few $1,000s to get some raised beds so that when the springtime come, we can plant and grow our own food. And you know, what they talk about food insecurities, that shouldn't even be an issue when you got all of this land and you can drop some seeds and grow your own food. So these are the kinds of things where we're empowering young artists. I work with Intergenerations last year and hired over 40 artists, seniors and millennials, to come together to be one with one voice. So we have a program called The Plan, which focuses on peace, love, art, and nature, bringing intergenerations together to be on one page. And I know these kinds of conversations are quick and you try to, you know, get your point across, but I know that we're doing more in our space than we're discussing. So at some point, I would like to share with others the things that we're doing.
Is everyone on here from Chicago?
I am.
I'm from St. Louis. Okay, we got some St. Louis, got some Florida.
Riverdale, Maywood.
Maywood, okay.
I'm in Lansing.
Oh, Lansing, see? Yeah, got some diversity.
Okay. Okay.
You know, this has been a really exciting discussion. It's unfortunate that it took the actions of the Capitol today, the people on the Capitol Hill, to
No, that's not unfortunate. That's a divine order, honey.
All right.
This was meant to be. Meant to
All
be.
right.
We're gonna be talking a lot. We're gonna be talking a lot from here on.
I love it.
Falling down.
Yeah. This was meant to be.
Now, are we saying that was a good thing that happened with people breaking windows and going invading people's
Everything
private
is in
spaces?
divine order. It's no different than when Black Lives Matter was destroying things and stealing things. It's all in divine order, waking us up. We're all waking up.
We need to see the energy that we have created and what is existing, so that we
reaping and sowing, reaping and sowing.
So we know what's here, so we know what we need to do to create what we want, because what has been is falling apart.
That's right.
Well, you guys heard of the Boston Tea Party, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Well, we get ready to start the Illinois Tea Party.
Yeah.
And
right now.
we want to do away with property taxes as we know it, and we're asking on my show, Your House is on Fire, every Wednesday at 11 to 12 on Facebook Live, truthhd.net. We want everybody to send their representative a tea bag, letting them know that we're sick and tired of our community being ripped off tax-wise.
All right. Ladies and
That's really creative.
Oh, I
That's
have
a creative movement.
Wanda, I have one final thing. Wanda, I have one final thing I would like to say real quickly.
Yes. Okay.
Now that the election has happened, of course, and the Democrats are in control, I've been telling some folks, the way we get what we want from these politicians is that, and we're talking whether it's local, state, federal, we have to demand.
Yes, you're right.
Contact them and tell them we want a town hall meeting, date and time and location. And they have to do that and report back to their constituents, us, as to what legislation are they proposing, or what legislation do they want us to let them know what we want them to do in terms of representing us.
Right.
And those meetings should be happening either quarterly or triannually, but they need to be happening. And the thing is, you can't wait on them to put a call out by way of one of their assistants to make that happen. We've got to take the initiative and let those people know what we expect of them. That's what white folks do. They expect town hall.
Are you speaking of the Black Caucus or the Black
it could
Caucus?
be the Black at Illinois level? It could be the Black Caucus. At the federal level,
the Black Caucus.
The federal level, we could be talking about who our representatives and our senators are. It could be any of those politicians. If I want to contact Dick Durbin's office and say, look, we need to have a town hall meeting, I expect that. I've never called his office. Frankly, I've never called his office about having a town hall meeting in a Black community area because I didn't need to. But if I wanted something from him, same thing with Danny Davis or Bobby Rush is my congressman, I would do the same thing. But that's how we have to do this. Now, one thing I'm going to say this in closing off from me, I'm working on a major thing that Wanda knows about. I've shared the information with her. I have written up, prepared, I also sent it to Naima, 22 proposed criminal justice reforms. They are the kind of reforms that will impact both the federal and state levels of government. And so we're having a Zoom meeting next Tuesday. There's a number of people who we've invited to come on, some appellate justices, some judges, some attorneys, and then a number of other people who are interested. I'd send it to Wanda, like I said, Naima, I sent her a copy also. And these criminal justice reforms, with Biden in office, who created a huge mess he had with his legislation, I'm very much aware of it. I voted for this dude this time, but tell him, I don't get it wrong. I know that he has done some really destructive, excuse my French, shit as far as the Black community.
But also he had
you got right now 2.3 million Blacks pretty much in prisons around the country at the state level. I just sent out a chart to the group yesterday. And every state in the union, all 50 states, the number of black primarily males to every other race is 10 to 16 to 1. We Black males dominate the prison population in every state in this union.
Because
and obviously
prison is industrial complex. It's a new business. It's a business, not new, but it's a business.
Of course.
But we have to also,
we've got to change that. We've got to change that.
And you know, ma'am, when we're talking about Biden and the policy that was just the worst kind of policy that was pushed by him, it was also approved by so many other Blacks that were in office.
Absolutely.
And so
and Black ministers.
Right. And so we when we say that, it's almost like, oh, the white man, he did it. But he did it because it was a history, and it doesn't take away from the outcome, because the outcome was detrimental to Black families, to Black young men, to Black children. So the harm that it has done is so deep. And I just know that it's so many complexities to us as a people, and so much healing that needs to happen, that I admire you, sister, doing this criminal justice repair, because it has to run deep. Because these young men that are being put back on the street, they're being put back on the street with no resources, and it is not good. And so we need to have immediate remedy.
Yes. And I'd like to just say, as we close,
I will say this. I know somebody else was trying to say something. This is going to be a big fight. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. And the biggest fight is going to come from all these fraternal orders of police that exist around the country, which are dominated by white policemen. They don't want change, and they're going to fight to the nth to try to circumvent change, because this system is benefiting them. You see how they're killing our young men and so forth. It is benefiting them. And the prison industrial complex, criminal justice system is a cash cow.
Yeah.
That's why you see a predominance of Black males in these state prisons primarily. It's a predominance of them. And even at the federal level.
And if you follow the money from A to Z, who have the contracts? They do.
Yeah.
Toilet paper, chili,
yes,
ink pens.
It's all business.
It's all
communications.
Yes. Yes.
Communications, the phone system.
Yes.
I mean, the uniforms. Reebok sends out shoes. Look at the gym shoes that they have to wear in these prisons. Reebok, you know. So it's you know, it's money coming from everywhere. Then you got all the commissions. You got the task force. I mean, all those entities are feeding off all of our young Black men. And now there's a lot of older men because of these class of felonies, these M and X felonies that get you 35, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. I've got some cases here right now of men who are sitting in prison. They're not due to even get a parole. I got one guy, 2062 is when his parole date is.
Wow.
And he went in 2011. That's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. And you got a lot of these guys who have been wrongfully incarcerated.
Yes.
If you hear some of the stuff that I can tell you about that I've experienced, it is almost unbelievable about how corrupt this system is also.
Well, sister, you said you're right when you say it's going to be a battle, because we're not only looking at the lobbyists in the United States, like the pharmaceutical industry and these big corporations, but you got to talk about China. Chinese Communist Party has been paying Governor Newsom in California, it's been revealed, quite a sum of money. So that California is becoming a real shithole. And you think the Chinese Communist Party hasn't been working inside this country to take over certain areas of this country? That's the battle we have. And that's what's happening in our government. So many congressmen and senators are being paid royally by the Chinese Communist Party. Now, you might think that's a rabbit hole or conspiracy theory.
No,
but when you're doing your homework, that's the battle we have, is that we're trying to be taken over by a foreign country.
Right.
So we're going to have to bring these congressmen and senators to accountability and find out who's paying you.
And that's our job. That's our job. But the show is ending, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sister.
Please come back next Wednesday. I'll be sure to send invitations to you all. I love you. Thank you.
Love you too.
All right. Peace out.
Love you.
Peace out. Agape.
Bye-bye. Have a great.
Okay.